Whoops. Sorry. Okay, now let's take it over. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the show. MicheleMarieDalene, as we are um, experimenting with a new time slot. And the reason is as follows. Ed wants to try to get up earlier in the day. And there are times in the day when I need to be able to cover things without too much outside interference. And yeah, I know that includes the cat. Come on up, Misty. Oh, okay. Um, so I just wanted to try to explain that. So like I explained to Wiggy yesterday, since he wants to get up at 8:10 in the morning, does that mean now I have to go to bed at 8 o'clock at night and wake up at 4 in the morning to do a morning show? Because this is when I have my time to focus on my content and not feel like I'm getting to worry about outside interference. Um, the other thing is that I've been very depressed lately. I know that no one's on watching right now. I can see that. I might have someone watching in a little while. Um, but that's fine, as I wanted to talk anyway. As you might know, this Congress is so dysfunctional and so splintered. For 2 years, Democrats have really made a mess of our country's economics. Political structure is certainly no better. And people have felt like they have lost the happiness that they had under Trump. Now, it's not just a Trump thing, I can assure you. Trump isn't exactly immune to what's going on. But it just seems like the United States as a country is become dysfunctional. It's not working anymore. We have politicians that are no longer focusing on the needs of the American individuals, or rather are focusing on the needs of corporate individuals, that is, companies. We have international welfare going on, which does not involve trying to put any kind of program in place to help people. They're helping other countries, but the American people are being left behind. I believe that Biden called it American last policy, or he summoned it. Now, a lot of Americans are feeling the crunch. They really do. They don't know what to do anymore. Everything that was going good under Trump, well, it's not the case anymore. Okay? This morning when I was getting up, I was singing a song by Don McLean. Bye Bye Miss America Pie. Trouble shove it to the levee, but the levee was dry. And when you talk about what he was talking about in the song, I've mentioned it many times in the past. I'm starting to see a cyclic trend. Okay? Now listen to this stanza, which I remember pretty well. Okay? In the streets, mothers cried, and poets dreamed. Not a single word was spoken. All the church bells were broken. And the three men that I admire the most, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. They all took the last train for the coast. The day that the music died, I could change that. The day that America died. And they were singing, "Bye, bye, Miss America Pie." Drove a Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. And these good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye, singing, "This will be the day that I die." Now, when he wrote that, it was 1970s. He had just seen the end of the turbulent 60s. But compared to now, the 60s is like a candle to a rocket ship engine. Both make fire, but one makes more fire. And it makes you think, what has happened to America? As I said, corporate greed has gotten involved, but it's not just the corporate greed. It seems that America has lost its mojo. Trump did give us a strong sense of solidarity and hope. But the Democrats were quietly working in the wings, trying to undo everything that he was trying to achieve. So they hired a puppet named Joe Biden to basically drive the USS United States into the garbage, undoing all the Trump era regulations and legislation that made this country great. Now they're trying to fight over that ceiling. And what they're doing is they're saying, we need to get money so we can give more money away to other countries. While the American economy is struggling and barely holding on to a thread. They're worried about a country in Eastern Europe that really we shouldn't even be involved with at all. But we keep sending them billions and billions of dollars and tanks and equipment and money. And yet, our own Democrats couldn't care less to help the American people who are struggling with out of control inflation. Oh, I know. Some would say inflation is getting better. Yeah, but is it really getting better? If you look at the fact is that more and more people are at the risk of evictions. More and more people are losing their homes. More and more people are feeling a sense of desperation and maxing out their credit cards and depleting their savings accounts. Is America really doing better? No. Yet, if you listen to some of these people, they're saying things are going to get better. I wish I could say under the current administration that was the case. But even if we get rid of this president, impeach him, 25th Amendment, whatever, you got Chuck Schumer, and he's still trying to pass progressive legislation that does not help the large majority of Americans. I mean, people on disability income, for example, are on disability income for a reason. They're trying to make the best they can, despite whatever the disability is. Brian K. sent me a message this morning on one of my other videos from 2016. He said, "Do all American women let themselves go?" Let me answer this question, Brian K. as best I can. That is a generalization, and I will just tell you that Americans are very sensitive about what's going on. They feel that the government is out of touch. They feel that they're not being heard. They can talk to the congressman all they want. that they're not doing anything to the American people. As I said, they're focused on big lobbyists and super PACs. They're not focused on the American dream or the people that want to achieve something. When I started this channel, it was because I wanted to share, but I also wanted to become, well, I wanted to become somewhat independent of the system. And that's the reason the channel does exist. Because I'm trying to show you my skills and the things I can do. But then when you hear people like Ed and others say, oh, this dysfunctional Congress can't do anything right, it makes me feel more and more frustrated because people in fixed income, particularly, are the most vulnerable groups. They don't have an extra whatever it is they need to try to achieve. Well, America, you need a car, for example. And if you don't have a car, which most Americans today will tell you is an extremely expensive liability. Your landlord's increasing the rent because his bills are going up. His taxes are going up. So your rent has to go up. What the sad truth is that people in fixed income get the smallest checks and live way below poverty line. Anything we tell? Now, if that's the case, then why isn't the government doing anything to help those people? Yeah, I'll put the panel up in a second, like so. Just give me a second. I didn't get that up yet. But I'm just saying is that I find this whole situation disingenuous. So let me get the panel up. And let's see. It's the reason why, in case you didn't know why we're live now, is because of the situation with. All right, hold on, my wiggy. I gotta get you on the screen. Okay, give me a minute. Good morning.
Good morning. I forgot I was. Wow, what are you doing up at 4:30?
Yeah, I know. 4:30 in the morning is a little early, isn't it? But that's because, like I said yesterday, is that one of the things I really need is those times of the hours of the day when I can do my show. And let's get up early now, so I'm not going to be able to do the show at 10 a.m. as like I used to do because of the fact is that he wants to have the mornings to get up and do his thing. So that means now I'm going to have to do my show even earlier in the day.
No, I don't. I think you can still do 10 a.m. He'll probably sleep in today. He's gonna, be doing his Ed stuff.
Well, he does. In that case, I get my show at 10 too.
Okay. Well, I hope you get some sleep because I don't know how many people are gonna watch at 4 a.m.
Oh, I know. We got 2 watchers, I guess, for this time of day. I guess that's pretty good for a show that's not on a regular time.
No, maybe if it's a little late, you might get the people getting ready for work.
All right.
I feel bad. I hope you get some sleep, Michelle.
I will after the 10 a.m. or after the 10 a.m. show. We'll get some sleep. But right now, I'm just trying to cover some things that I didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday.
Okay. Well, I'll listen and I'll get ready for my day. How about that?
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
But if you want to end early, don't feel bad. I support that too because you should get sleep.
Yeah. I'll get some sleep because I did go to sleep at 8 o'clock at night, and then I woke up at 3 in the morning, 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't like I didn't sleep at all, as I did.
Okay. All right, just worry. All right, yeah. I'm gonna hop off and just listen.
Well, I'm worried about things too. That's one of the reasons I'm doing the show, to talk about them.
Well, you right? Like what? What are you worried about?
Like what's going on with this dysfunctional Congress saying that they want to cut into our benefits, or disability benefits, to pay for their excessive spending, to give money to other countries.
That is a concern. I don't let it keep me awake at night, but they act like they can just print more money. So I
Oh
wouldn't
yeah,
worry
they
about
can
it too
print more
much.
money, but the
Inflation will
problem
probably get
is
worse,
that
but
creates an inflationary spiral, which again is what we're already in. So just printing more money doesn't solve the problem, and I think that this is an example of what I call the um, America Last policy, because the under Trump, his administration did a lot better job to help Americans to achieve success in a sense of, um, wonderful growth. And now the Democrats are trying to screw all that over.
yeah, but you know what? I believe both of those sides kind of hate the American people. I know it sucks, but
Um, well, I mean, it's especially those in fixed incomes that's particularly really an uncomfortable spot, because you know you don't make a lot of resources, and you're trying to um, hold the roof over your head and pay your bills, and then because you're on a limited budget, often you're penalized if you try to work, if you do manage to find work, because you don't have a car, because you can't afford one, even if you could drive one, which I can't anyway. And so the lowest of the poorest of the poor, which includes the homeless, are feeling like they're not getting ahead, no matter what they do. So that's the reason I think it's really sad to see how much dysfunctional this country has become. That the most vulnerable are the ones who are going to have to face the most traumatic issue with their finances, because the government has got such a bad case of apathy that they don't care about what the American people need. See, yesterday I really, really was feeling kind of meh when I woke up anyway, because I already knew what was going on. And then Ed sits there and he starts reminding me of all the bad stuff that's going on. And then it's like, Ed, why can't you tell me something that's good news? Because the sad truth is that the good news isn't being talked about. Which is, like he said, well, it looks like the drive-ins are doing better. I said, that's good news. He said, but the multiplexes are doing terrible. I said, that's bad news. And over 50% more people are likely to lose their homes because of the costs associated with living. That's bad news. Germany is now entering the Ukraine war. That's bad news. Um, and yet, they can't raise the debt ceiling unless they can get bipartisan support for what they want done. But it seems that the Democrats are in it to try to sabotage the American way of life. And that's the reasons why it's so hard. I just don't understand why Joe Biden's doing this to America. Why are the far left Democrats doing this to America? I'm actually embarrassed to be calling myself an American, because what my country was good for has lost it. It's lost it. We lost the American attitude that you can do anything if you try hard enough. Even the disabled want a chance to try to reach the American dream. But yeah, now, with increasing costs associated with America, and the fact that the people with disability make the least amount of money, they're not getting ahead. The plan is to destroy the U.S. as a nation. They want the Constitution gone and a communist dystopia built by them. Well, so in a way, kind of Putin does too, but for a different reason. Putin sees what Western Europe has done and America has done. It makes him very uncomfortable because he sees how capitalists, particularly the larger corporations, have managed to manipulate the system so much in their favor. And yes, Rusty, I know, and not in theirs, not in the needs of the people that they're supposed to be representing. And that's a sad reality. I just wish that we could fix the situation, but I don't see how until we can get a new president in Congress. And we already got part of a new Congress, but we still need to get new people in Congress that have gotten back to the root values of representing the people that they are been voted in to represent. They're not getting a chance to represent them.
I gotta say, I feel like they're also ingenuine. All the politicians, like they're just in it for the insider trading, things like that.
Oh yeah,
I don't
insider
think
trading is
any of
definitely
them
a big
can.
one. Yeah, and bribes,
Huge.
lots of
Yeah.
kickbacks.
There's only really one reason I believe any of those politicians get into it, and that's for all those side benefits.
Yeah, I think that if they really want to seriously try to balance the budget, why don't they start by basically taking a hit to their own checkbooks? They already basically they get paid huge salaries, and the sad truth is that they want to protect their portfolio, but they're not willing to realize that the wealth is very unequally distributed. I live in a blue state, and one of the things is in the blue states is you would say is that we have laws that protect us, but more and more they want to throw the weight on the state legislatures, and the state legislatures in some cases are just as messed up as they are on the federal level. And so those people don't know what they're supposed to do either. Um, and then when you got government agencies trying to tell you what kind of appliances you can have in your kitchen, you think it's just going to be just applying to gas stoves? No, they want to also mandate the same thing for heating systems and for water heaters and microwave ovens, refrigerators. They want to, like you said, turn it turn it into a communism dystopia. We already know communism didn't work. But actually, in a way, it kind of did because in Russia, during the time of before Glasnost, I could have had a job, even if it is just putting labels on things in a factory somewhere. And now, of course, corporations are going like, why should I hire you when I can hire that former PhD over there that needs a job and he's got good sight? The truth is that there needs to be the ability for people to find, the right, the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is specified in the Declaration of Independence. And yet, it seems the Democrats want to take all that away. That's their plan, and they will stop at nothing to achieve it. Exactly, it's all about them. They're selling us out to our enemies. Yes, Brian K, how you doing? Yeah, I agree that they are. That's why they'll give all this money to all these other countries, but yet they won't even help America. As I said, I am embarrassed and ashamed to call myself an American. I really am. I think this country has basically ruined its interpretation among other countries.
Hey, Michelle, do you think if you bought a gun or something that would help you feel more American? Go shooting,
No,
hunting, shooting, fishing?
no, I don't think having a gun is going to make me feel more American. I don't think that's what this country needs. I
Okay.
think this we need this for this country needs is we need to find a way to reach out to these people in Congress and the Senate and say, look, this is wrong. You're doing the wrong thing. You're hurting the wrong people. You take our tax revenue and you give it to another country, and it's ridiculous. I don't think that's the answer. Well, guns are also great for another reason, which I personally scares me. Like I explained to Wiki,
Some of
Americans.
them, what about those musket ones you like? I feel like more about the symbolism than the actual, number that you would get if you
You're
used
talking about
it.
front loader blunderbuss. You know what? I'll tell you a
Sure.
secret about the blunderbuss. The blunderbuss, for example, is a gun that's not a rifled barrel. It has very little accuracy. Um, Despite what you see in a game like World of Warcraft, but if even in World of Warcraft, at least they got one thing right. And you see the person loading the blunderbuss, putting in the powder, the shot, the wadding. It's it's a really really time consuming loading stage because you have to remember you want to make sure that there's no burning fire or latent burning fire gunpowder in the gun because obvious reasons. Um, the most common guns we use now use cartridges that are breech loaded. So because
We use a
it's
lot of those
easier
things.
to take the cartridge out and still keep the gun aimed at where you got to go for it. You know, um, the sad truth is the um, this country doesn't want us to have guns. That's another Democrat thing that they've been pushing is trying to say let's not allow Americans to defend themselves, and um, and
Hey,
that's a
Michelle,
disturbing thought.
did you see Brian K wants to know if you'd be willing to do an interview for season 2 of the Brian K show? Look
I
at
could
that.
do an interview now if he wants to start recording it.
Well, that's good to be on him. Also, Hazy Train says it would take millions in the street nonstop for chains. Even then, it would be a fight. Even though we have the right to assemble and everything here in America more than
For
other people
now,
do,
for
we don't
now
really
we do.
use it that much for that reason against
But
them. Do you
you
think maybe they'd rather see all the poor people of color and white people fight each other than the white and black poor people fight rich people?
yeah, it's called diversionary tactic.
Yeah.
And the whole reason is
He said
because
he
they're
can't right
hoping if
now,
we're
but
fighting
maybe
each
this
other
weekend.
that we're not going to notice the man behind the curtain pulling all the strings. That's what they're
Yeah.
hoping.
So maybe this whole I hate Democrats, I love Republicans. They're both shitty. They're both divide and conquer of the American people.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not saying the Republicans and Democrats are necessarily perfectly good. There certainly are good people in both parties. The sad truth is that I think some of them are still being hornswoggled. They're they're being told that if they support this, then their campaign's kaput and all that, and so that they're kind of being kind of forced to go with the herd mentality of voting for something, even though deep down that they don't want to do it. Are you transgendered? I'm a hermaphrodite. I was born this way. I'm intersex. Okay, I was born this way. Transgendered, as far as I understand, is not born this way. Um, I'm going to say as far as I know because I have not enough information to say if the transgendered versus preoperative and postoperative. But when you're intersex, hermaphrodite, it's a condition, it's a medical condition you're born with. It's very different. It can be cool, I guess. Yeah, you're right. The two-party system has been badly perverted. In some European countries, they have as many. Like, for example, Bulgaria has as many as 18 political parties. And we can't even get it right now with the two we have. Never mind trying to vote in an election with 18 slots on a ballot to try to choose which members of the party we're going to choose. I think will be very difficult for people to keep up with all the different viewpoints. But one of the things is I don't know why the Democrats think the communist system is so great. I mean, in Russia, the Soviet Union, because of corruption, because of it did work for a long time since the Bolshevik Revolution of 1916, 18. But then look what happened 70 years later after Chernobyl's explosion in 1988. Russia didn't have the needed skills to put out the fire of Chernobyl. They had no choice under Mikhail Gorbachev to get help from the West because they were totally in trouble. As much as you can and the fighting, but never on your knees. Honey, I can't even get on my knees without causing extreme pain, metaphorically or physically.
That's a threat.
So I'd rather be standing or sitting most of the time. But either way, I thought, what did you, since it's just us talking right now, what did you think about yesterday morning's show?
Me?
Yeah, you. I mean,
it was good. I wish it was a little, I think, flustering for you because it was Ed and phones. But I think if you'd have just one kind of wild thing, like a wild phone ringing, I think you'd do a lot better.
Yeah.
Not too loud noises. Not like an Ed and a phone ringing.
Yeah,
I get it. But you know what? You just have to focus on one thing and not let the other kind of get you flustered. It's a good practice, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason, like I said, the reason why it kind of got me so upset yesterday was he was talking about something that I already know, and it's like, Ed, I already know that the situation has gotten out of control. I already know it. I don't need to be reminded again. The morning show is usually when I try to start my morning off on a good foot, where I can relax a little bit, and before all the daily affairs start, where I can take care of like the garbage, and let out the cat, eat breakfast, spend some time with the audience talking about more fun stuff, and instead of worrying about all the craziness that I hear in the news and the rest of the day. But I'll be honest, I feel ever since Trump left office that Americans in general are not happy. I'm getting a general malaise on this. It's like Americans are saying is we don't like what's going on. Our government has lost touch with us. How you doing? How you doing, Gosco Dave? You need to spend some time preparing for your show. Brian K, I try to prepare for my show. But one of the things is that I feel like I was explaining to Wiggy in a private conversation, like I'm being crunched between Ed's issues and my issues. And whereas when I had this apartment to myself, I could get up what I want, research the notes I need to research, look into everything, mentally process it, come up with a story, um, and a show topic. And that has not been an option lately because it's been, for 2 years, it's been like a whirlwind of, things going on, but not enough a chance for me to get away from the everyday events in my life to have a good time. I was looking forward to doing things like Canadian said, and we go out to, lunch or dinner. She said, "Why don't you go out and hang out with Noodles?" And I'm not against the idea, but I I just don't know if that's going to happen because Noodles has got his own issues in his life. I can't go into, and I think that is one of the reasons why you know I feel kind of penned in. I used to go to the soup kitchen, which was nice because I
Well,
got
if you want, you could just ask him to come visit. I know you're scared to go to New York City, maybe, but if you just say, "Hey, Noodle, do you want to come here and let's have some lunch?" And let him take you out to lunch. Tell him, if you do want kisses,
that would
they
be a
want
good
kisses. If you
compromise.
don't,
That would
they
be a
don't.
good compromise.
Yeah, it's safe, and he can feel safe. I felt safe, so there's no scares. If he's scared, don't go on lives. He knows how to avoid problems.
Glasgow gave. I don't know if that's entirely true. It's not just a Republican and Democrat thing. I don't think it's that simple because there's a lot of Democrats that couldn't care less either. Okay, so because they're focusing on something like I said, like things like drag queen story hour, worrying about which bathroom you use. You know, I mean, in one sense, they want equality in sports for men and women. I understand that, but what they're really doing is they're just basically not discussing the real elephant in the room, which is the economy. And yeah, when a foreign country says we need a couple billion more, we need a couple $1 billion, and they're like willing to hand out the checkbook, but when American people say because of the crazy economy that we're struggling, they're like, oh no, sorry, I'm not helping you. And then of course when you got all the illegals coming in through the door and America's getting crushed under onslaught of new illegal people coming in, that's not helping either. And Americans that lived here all of our lives are feeling like we're being treated badly by a system that just doesn't care. Well, I do have a theme in my episode. I'm not trying to destroy the creative element of my show. That's one of the reasons why this show is during a different time slot. Um, the creative element in my show is, I think, is in the last few years has been kind of destroyed anyway. When the sense of despair coming in and depression, and it's kind of disturbing to think about it because you are seeing these people. Um, like I said, Americans are feeling disillusioned right now. Those people on fixed income really are feeling disillusioned. And Wiki knows that this doesn't just apply to those on fixed incomes because a lot of low income Americans, which includes those that work part time jobs, are not feeling very hopeful for themselves. I know, Rusty. All right, come on up here. Oh, you're a heavy cat, you know that. All right.
Hey, Rusty.
Yeah. So that's the sad truth is that what I used to do was I used to feel a sense of hope. Always allow it to dissolve into a lecture for your audience. I don't know if it's a lecture, but in this case, I feel it's important that you actually hear my viewpoint, what I see, what I don't like, what's going on in this country.
I can't wait till you join the rest of us and hate them all and realize there's no point talking about them unless it's about smashing up their windows.
Yeah. Well, I agree that America
And
right
do you
now is
see
so divided.
Brian's got another
I
comment
think
there?
you are going to see another civil war. I think we'll see another civil war in a very quick, short time because I think Americans are beginning to notice again. I mean, it seems like Europeans are more active about this than America because it seems like Europeans have strikes and protests more than we do here in this country. I think that Americans, some even though we're such a large country, we're not as um, a lot of us are not as mobilized. A lot of people don't understand, all the details that's going on. And a good part of it is because the mainstream media doesn't want you to know what's going on. And I think that's disturbing. I mean, that Americans don't want you to know what's going on. The government doesn't want you to tell you. They don't want it to. They got their arms in the mainstream media that are not telling you all the details. Because you've taken on too much, you shouldn't have had the panels always up the entire time. I'm not saying get rid of the panels, but it seems like it makes you overwhelmed. Sometimes Brian K. they do. Sometimes they do. But not always. It depends on what I'm trying to cover. That's why this show is such a nice opportunity because it's more people going to get a chance to listen to this in the reruns and maybe understand more what's going on. Because sometimes in the panels you got people, that don't agree with you, and so you're trying to explain, and then you get a feeling sometimes that they're telling you that they don't want to hear it. Shut up, it doesn't matter, and yet deep down it still bothers you, and so you want to talk about that. And that's where that sometimes when I have to come out here and do a show that's in an odd time because something's bothering me. Like as I explained to Wiki yesterday, and I just needed to get it off my chest. You know, um, and I think that's the important tool to have. Um, let's see how many people are here. We're not doing too bad. We got how many? 8, something like 8. I can't really tell. The number's so small. Okay. Anyway, the point is that's the reason why I wanted to talk about this morning. We have guns, but who's aiming? Who's pointing the guns at who? That's that's a disturbing thought when you think about it. How you doing, Glasgow? Good day. I see you. Yeah, I saw you since you said hello to me earlier. I didn't ignore you. Let's see. Maybe he wants to come on panel. I don't know. So well, anyway, Wiggy, it sounds like you need to get ready for your interview today. Yeah, I know. I was going to give the link to
Mm-hmm.
that. I didn't even post it yet. Um,
Now, what do you do?
what's that?
Never mind.
Okay, it's the link anyway. So, copying that. That's GLA. Now, by the way, the UK has had its own problems with those on disability. under the WPA. Okay, let's go, Steve. Let's come on now. Let's get him on here. Let's see. Cursor, where are you? There we go. Good morning.
Good.
How's it going?
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Orange juice. Orange juice. Orange.
So the sad truth is like I said, is that if Ed seriously wants to get up in the morning show, when my normal morning show would be, is I feel that some of the stuff that I want to cover, I can't cover anymore because I'm afraid that he's going to be constantly butting in every time I try to talk, and that's what he was doing yesterday. That's another reason I was getting so flustered.
I think you need.
Have you guys forgotten my own history? When you had a corrupt British government, it seems like you had a good plan. We did, but then unfortunately we got corrupted too. That's the whole problem.
Well, Michelle,
Do I still have
an
Intel Pentium 3? I do have. No, I haven't. I went right to the Celeron chipset. I never had a Pentium 3 machine.
Yeah, Michelle. No, I'm not reading the side chat. Sorry. Yeah, you're right about the liberals. Yeah, the loony liberals are a bit loony. But I don't know if I was in a position like yourself, like myself. I don't think I'd be voting Conservative. It's just as bad as a socialist voting for Conservative, really, or somebody with money voting socialism. It doesn't really make sense. I don't think it does. I think most people vote with a bank balance. I think, to be fair.
Do I have a UART, a 6551 UART a chip? Yeah, I do have. Well, I used to have one in my Technicolor Computer 3, which I don't have anymore. I had the two RS 232 Lux serial port boards that had the 6551 UART chip, which is funny because the 6551A was actually a MOS chip. It is not a Motorola line of UARTs. It's funny. It was very common ACIA back in the time of the Commodore 64, the Apple, and the Technicolor computer. So one chip I always was interested in a USART, which is a universal synchronous asynchronous receiver transmitter. I never seen a USART chip, but I do know that allowed support for both synchronous and asynchronous RIS 232 conversations. So and handshaking protocols. Nothing will happen in America. Everything is fine as long as they have a hot dog phone. And that, yeah. No.
So what did you have for breakfast, Michelle?
What would it have? You mean for food?
Yeah, what did you eat for breakfast?
I didn't eat breakfast yet.
Oh, really? Oh, that's going to say, why are you up so early, Michelle?
We went to bed about 8:30 at night, and I just couldn't sleep anymore, and I woke up about 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, "Well, like I told Wiki yesterday, maybe now I might have to start my day at 4 a.m. so that I can get my quiet time in, so I can focus and sort my thoughts out through the day." And that's the reason I said I might have to do the shows earlier in the morning now. It's I know that sounds weird. It just is weird. It's totally it's totally crazy. It doesn't make any sense. But
What do you think doesn't make sense?
well, because when I lived by myself, I mean, like I could do the show whenever I wanted, and I didn't have to worry about being interrupted, or I could. So some days I would sleep in and I just didn't care. And other days I would be up and active like I am now, doing the show, or I'll do 2 or 3 shows. And I would have the flexibility to do the show when I felt like doing the show. So now I feel like, I'll help the show. You guys need to. Oh, shut up.
That's a funny comment. Let it go. It's funny. Made us laugh, right?
It's just such a strange comment.
Yeah, but a lot of comments like I make are strange, but sometimes it's just just jokes.
So I mean, the thing is like as I said, I really miss being able to have the time, my own place, my own, and then of course, like Ed keeps saying to me, "Oh, your hearing sucks. Your hearing sucks. You gotta get it fixed. Your hearing sucks. You gotta get it fixed." But then he doesn't realize that sometimes he cuts me off halfway through a conversation, and then it's almost like he's not listening either. I know, I understand that. Yeah, I just, and I think that the biggest sore thing for me is, like as I said, when we had the soup kitchen was open, we had a sense of community. We don't have that anymore.
So what happened to the soup kitchen? What happened, Michelle?
Um, they're not doing anything differently. They're not serving in-house meals. They're not. Um, there's no community anymore. It's gone. The soup kitchen was kind of a place where people got together and talked and drank coffee in the morning and have lunch, and we would mingle with each other, just talk about everyday stuff, and that's gone now. That's gone. There's no longer a sense of community where I am. Um, and then of course, like Brian K, like you said, is earlier I answered this question. You said, do all American women always let themselves go? I'm gonna tell you, that's a very generalized question, but I would say no, not all. I think there's a portion that do, because they feel overwhelmed, partially because the medium is constantly telling them, you got to fight for your weight, you got to lose weight, you got to do this, you got to be Miss Wonderful, you got to reach out to this person, you got to do this for the economy. And the sad truth is that just adds a lot of stress to their heart and their lives, because sometimes they feel like they have to fight an uphill battle on their own. And
well, I had 4
reaching the prime of his life. He's on the cusp of opening drive-ins across the country. He's not going to open a drive-in across the country. He doesn't even have enough money to even come up with the capital to start a business.
No, probably not. But once he gets that car, once he gets himself a set of wheels.
Well, that's how I told him first. I says, you got to start putting money aside for that. You got to get money aside for a car. You don't have money saved. You don't have.
I think he said he was looking for a donation of a car.
Well,
who are we talking about here? Are we talking about Ed or Andrew?
Oh, Ed, Andrew? Yeah, Ed Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think Ed has a lot of things in his head. I think Ed has a lot of things in his head, and I think he must dream. I mean, I dream. We all dream. I mean, I'm broke. I don't deny it.
I have dreams. I dream of things, but the sad truth is, I know that majority of my dreams will never come to be. Which is kind of sad.
Michelle.
What?
Michelle, that's because you don't buy lottery tickets. You have to buy lottery tickets.
I don't buy lottery tickets because I realize that majority of the cases, your chances of winning is almost none. It's not a very economic system.
I have a lottery ticket there. I haven't checked yet. I bought it. I think it was yesterday or the day before, something like that.
I mean, and right now, did you know a lot of Americans are living hand to mouth on their credit card debts, and I think that's scary because the average American doesn't know what to do with their finances right now because they don't know what they're planning ahead for. Because, like I said, I think the Democrats and some Republicans are fighting against it, but there are some Republicans that are not stopping it. They're not saying, "Wait a second, you know, um, let's give away free money to other countries and while our own people languish and suffer isn't exactly what I call a solution to the problem."
Well, the thing is, Michelle, you know, and I know, right? I'm just arguing a point here, but governments aren't really there to really look after people, Michelle.
Yeah. No, I know. That's a panacea. That's not. You're right. I don't disagree with that.
I know. No, and I'm being
And that's one of the reasons why I'm not at
all
all enthusiastic when someone says you should go to a 55 plus community. Because the fact of the matter is that a 55 plus community just puts you into another pigeonhole. You're already pigeonholed if you're on a fixed income. Now you're going to be even more pigeonholed and less restricted to doing anything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This
Wiggy, see your avatar. Is that actually avatar Wiggy? Is that a cat?
No, it's a Pokemon. It's a Pikachu, actually.
Yeah.
What's a Pikachu? What's a Pikachu, Wiggy?
That's a good question.
Michelle, you know what a Pikachu is. Can you? I'm about to brush my teeth. Can you explain what a Pikachu is?
I don't know a lot of detail on a Pikachu to really tell you, Dave. It's one of the characters in Pokemon, and they're like an animated creature that you can capture in your Pokemon ball to do Pokemon battles. There's a few others. There's one I like. His name is Meowth, which is clearly is a cat. he's supposed to be on a competing team, but honestly, Meowth is one of the few of the Pokemon that actually can speak. You know, the vernacular of the people that he works with. It would be kind of funny if I ever saw Rusty try to start talking. I think right now Rusty would be telling me, "Hey, Michelle, I want to go outside." I think he wants to go out. I gotta let him out real quick. All right, so
Hello.
I just let Rusty out. So good night, y'all. I hope you have a good night, and don't forget about the. There's nobody having any such a contest. That's so disgusting. That's not even funny. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is just that so Pikachu is one of the Pokemon characters that you can have, and Pikachu is interesting. I did not know it had the ability to electrocute you. I did not know that. So
Yeah, I know it's not a cat anymore. I know it's not a cat and it's not a dog. It's not a cat. I know it's not a cat.
It's a Pokemon.
it's a
That's
Pokemon.
just the like breed.
So you have a radio receiver that can cover Mecon radio spectrum. Theoretically, any general purpose radio receiver can cover that. Anything that could do 150 kilocycles to 29.999 megacycles could cover most of the Mecon radio frequencies because they didn't use FM. So
What are those frequencies used for?
their shortwave radio frequencies are used for the communications. Most everything is a medium wave of 640 kilocycles to 1700 kilocycles. And that's what they use their frequencies for general coverage. When they decided to start experimenting with digital television, I think they were using slightly higher frequencies, and definitely in the VHF band, to cover that, because they needed the more bandwidth for the larger 5 megacycle channel distribution per channel. But there was only one channel. It originally was Colonia 1, and then later on, Tostia would get their own transmitter. But I think that would come later on because Queen Michaela and Queen Michelle were already working to go with digital television, as was Restamaka. So they were using a standardized digital frequency. Unlike in the United States and Europe and America, where everything was always a whole bunch of different frequencies. Most of Maka depended on vacuum tube technology. There was some solid state, but the CRT was still the king of for video displays. LCD panels, LED panels would come in later. When is the Bantu target? When the Bantu target attack the board, we don't wait for the police. We actively hunt them down and take their lives. Instead, that Americans don't do the same. No, BLA. I'm sure Black Lives Matter does, and the Proud Boys do to some extent. I don't think it's.
If you are getting your community taken and your community, like what your way of life is being ruined, kind of like by the politicians are doing. He says they actively hunt them down. They don't call.
I already answered the question. No. You allow them to demolish your status and monuments,
your statues,
only to erect their own altars to Baphomet and Lucifer. It's just messed up how unfair you allow things to be. I don't think anyone really allows them to. This goes back to the woke movement. This goes back to the woke movement, and I think that again, it's the far left that's pushing this. On the far right, I'm a moderate. I'm a middle. I'm the purple party. That's why I wear purple. Duh. No, that's not the real reason why I wear purple. But they basically red and blue together make purple. If you moderate Democrat, moderate Republican are not that much different. At least they can sort of talk to each other and come up with an understanding that there are things that we shouldn't go too far one way or too far to the other way. Like I said one time when I talked about American Truck Simulator, Is like when you're driving on the road, the idea is to keep the steering wheel steady and straight, the joy straight. But you can go crazy and you can go too far way too far the other way, and all of a sudden you lose control of the vehicle, and all of a sudden you're driving off a cliff. This is what's happening to the American political system right now, and it's absolutely terrifying to see um, that there's no uh, consensus on how far we should go or where we should go. I think that there's needs to be that discussion. The moderate Republicans and moderate Democrats should get together, have a shindig, sit down, talk over coffee and donuts or whatever, and say, look, here's the deal. I don't like the too far doing this. I don't like this too far doing that. Can we both agree that there is things that we need to bring back into the central type of mentality, the centrist mentality? And we're not seeing that. We're not having those conversations.
Mhm. I blame the aliens myself, Michelle. I believe the politicians, as David Icke would say, they're reptilians. They're all reptilians. They're from Mars, Michelle, these politicians.
I don't even think they're from Mars, but I think they are definitely not consciously concerned about the well-being of the people that they are supposed to be representing. That definitely is an issue. In fact, I think that if you look at everybody likes to talk about the last days or Armageddon. I think this is the beginning of the end for America. I think you're going to see America is going to go into a stage of decline, the death spiral that is just going to. I'm sure the Democrats are laughing about it, just like Bill, just like Ian McLean would say, is that the fire is the devil's only friend, and I think that you're seeing just that as it's happening. Don McLean's by Miss America Pie. That's exactly what you're saying.
I don't know, Michelle. I don't think I like greed because a lot of these companies like greed, so they like money. They're not going to destroy a company. They're not going to destroy a whole entire system that basically giving them. You don't kill the goose that gives you the golden egg. I mean, yeah, you'll have ups, you'll have downs, you'll have companies that will go bankrupt, you'll have new companies that will be successful. It's been the same since time immemorial, Michelle.
I don't know. I see. I was just looking at Brian K's question. How long will it take before people rise up and take action? I don't know. I know some people are clearly starting to get angry now. There's definitely is some people starting to mobilize. But but then at the same time,
What they're going to do,
one of the
Michelle,
most
really,
powerful tools that we have is social media. And the problem is right now is they know that. That's one of the reasons why they want to control social media. I mean, just like they do with firearms, they want to control social media because they don't want people to sound the alarm and then have the other people go rushing out with their bayonets and their pitchforks and torches because they don't. That's what they're afraid of. That's why. That's why
they already do that, Michelle. The globalists control everything. Really, at the end of the day, everything can be switched off at the flick of a switch. You know that, Michelle. The internet, all these big servers, they all run on a thing called electricity. The internet could be killed off tomorrow if they wanted to. The China did it. China censors people, so if they wanted to do it, they could do it, but they just don't.
That's true. That's true. They could really flex some power on people and just
do
whatever.
And the sad truth is, for example, like Ed says, how does the World Economic Forum kick into this? I said, you're talking to a very large group of very well-to-do people that have a lot of influence and power in the government, indirectly and directly through the World Economic Forum, includes people like George Soros and others that are trying to manipulate policies in their best interest. It just frustrates me that you don't see The one people you don't see is you don't see pushback on that. The World Economic Forum works with international government. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, even though one's a governmental body and one is not. It's the World Economic Forum, for example, that want to basically ban gas stoves in the kitchen. That's not it's not realistic, but they want to have more control over the world. Well, for what? Why do you want control of the world? If you don't like the world, then why don't you get on your spaceship with Elon Musk and get out of here? You don't want to be here, so why do you have to make everybody else's lives miserable?
Yeah, fuck off to Mars.
Go
Yeah,
off to
but the thing
Mars,
is,
go
what
off
are
to
the people
Venus,
going to
go
do,
off to
Michelle?
Saturn. I don't care where you go.
What are the people going to do if they rise up? Who's going to be the enemy, Michelle? The government? You're not going to beat the government. The government have got the Americans have got fucking drones and spy satellites now, and you've got little Billy Bob with a 12 gauge. Come on, Michelle, wake up.
Yeah.
You're not going to beat the government. The government, the government have got more firepower than the civilians. Yes, the Second Amendment was brought in to prevent the government from becoming tyrannical. That's why it was brought in. That's why it exists. But
I wonder.
Sorry. If the government want to be tyrannical, I mean, what chance have you got? Nothing really.
Yeah. Well, you were saying, Wiggy, you were saying something.
I was going to say you would have to maybe disarm the government first before you can think about, at least in America. Or maybe it's a slow process. Like, why do people still sign up to be cops and all that other stuff?
You know what's scary? You know what's scary?
Why?
On January 6th, American people did do something that the United States government wasn't ready for. They stormed Congress. Okay.
I thought that was extremely stupid, Michelle. That was really, really daft. I know people are sorry for interrupting you. I don't agree with that, Michelle. I don't believe there's enough.
Dave, it may seem stupid, but Europe is good for this. You've seen Europe protests. They've done the same thing. They've had coups. They have actually sacked the governments. Maybe that's what it's going to take to get.
I don't believe it was merited, Michelle. I don't believe it was merited at all. I think Donald Trump caused that. Donald Trump should never have made that comment, and he came out and told people.
I don't think Donald Trump directly started it. I do not see him. I'll just say this. I don't think he deliberately told his people go out there and sack the Congress. I don't think I never got that impression. But that doesn't mean that there weren't others that did get that impression, and then those people did it, and that's when you start to see the congressional leaders to start to get a little scared because now they realize that they're trying to build more walls to fortify Congress because they don't want their holy ivory tower to be desecrated, and that's what they're seeing. That's what they saw, and they really started getting nervous because they realized that they were no longer protected because their own walls weren't protecting them. It's a sore point with YouTube. Unfortunately, I can't get into too much more than that. But just to say is that it's going to happen again. I'm more than likely sure it's going to happen again, and it's going to keep.
I think it's sad, Michelle. I mean, the thing is, I'm saying, I don't think that, the behaviour was merited. But then again, what is clamping down and eradicating freedom of speech, taking away the Second Amendment, stuff like that would be enough to merit that. But none of that is happening, Michelle. And they're talking about voter fraud. I don't think that, the Republicans talk about voter fraud and saying, or Trump saying the election was, it was fraudulent and stuff. What about George Bush in Florida, Michelle? When every single, no matter what way you count the Florida vote.
Yeah, I remember the Florida elections. Yeah, I know. And then, of course, the problem with Florida with the butterfly ballot fiasco was.
And it's just, and Michelle, it doesn't matter what way you count those votes. Al Gore won that election.
Yeah, Bush
saying they're
versus
stolen,
Gore. Yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
and
I remember that.
you get
And that
Republicans
should
saying,
show
look,
how useless it all is.
well, you've got one party blaming another, saying, no, they stole our election, but so did the Republicans, so it's just total fucking hypocrisy.
Yeah. Oh, I
But
mean, I think that
they don't believe that. They just say all that just to get everybody stirred up. Oh, look, it was stolen from you, and it was stolen from you, and let's all get mad at the other side. We're not insider trading or nothing.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't think the last election was stolen. I really don't.
No, but
I mean,
they'll
you'll
say
always have,
anything. It doesn't have to be really stolen or not. It's just a good way to mess everyone up.
but
well,
Wiggy, but
all
there
I
was
know
proof.
is that
I'll
when
get-
you look at what's going on, it's some of it is, I swear to God, is pre-orchestrated specifically
Yeah,
to
there
be a
was proof to
diversion.
prove that election was, Michelle, there was proof to prove that election was fraudulent. I mean, Al Gore did win that election. There is proof
Oh, I know
of
that was
that.
proof, but the
But there
democratically
isn't any,
controlled states
the
didn't want to deal with it. They didn't want people to see what they were doing with flooding it up with ballots of dead people and all that. They were doing that, and they didn't want people to see what was going on.
yeah, but it was the Republicans that.
And we saw
it was the
this. We
Republicans
saw
that
this in Arizona this year. I mean, with in Arizona, why did it take so long to count the ballots in some states?
Because there is that many people, Michelle. It's like Texas has got like 39 million people. That's why. I mean, New York's 19 million.
I don't know about how many people in New York, but the point is that these systems. So why do we have an election day? Why don't we just simply say the votes will be available in say 1 week? That's exactly what happened in some of the states, and I kind of really wonder if there was something going on, if somebody wasn't cooking the books somewhere, because I think they were. I think there was some book cooking.
Michelle, you'll always get people kind of turning up and voting twice and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, I mean, but I think that there isn't any proof that there was wholesale fraud in the last election. There may have been regional, discrepancies, but when it comes to actual stealing an election, the Republicans done it big time. I mean, the Democrats weren't doing anything when it came.
I don't deny that both parties have done it. There's no doubt about this. I just want fair elections. And I think all America wants fair elections. Doesn't matter which party. It just let's get the real results. But the thing is that what it is the congressional people that keep getting in office over and over again. Some of these guys are so old, and they're so. Yeah, they keep getting winning over and over again as incumbents. They keep getting another term, even though they haven't voted for you and supported the American people. But yet they keep electing the same people over and over again. And that's what they call career politician. That's what they do. Because that's all life is. It's basically just sitting in office, making the $200,000+ a year, and but they're not focusing on you. They're listening to the super PACs. They're listening to the big corporation lobbyists are pushing certain agendas. Let's take, for example, Food and Drug Administration versus USDA for a minute. There is a lot of pushback by corporations for the Food and Drug Administration and the USDA to consider things like soda and unhealthy sugar cereals to be allowed on food stamps. Next thing you know, Budweiser is going to come in and they're going to say, well, we want beer on food stamps too. Because after all, beer is a food. Their logic, those aren't so scary. It's like the whole logic here just doesn't make any sense. And at the same time, the FDA and Centers for Disease Control saying, "Oh, obesity in America is at an all-time high," but yet the people that really, really want to make consciously right decisions to eat the right food, they don't realize that the food is containing toxins that is going to make you fat anyway, and causes things like glyphosates and other things that cause negative impact on the body, because that's what big agriculture wants to push. And big pharma certainly in it too. Oh, your weight's got too high, you're pre-diabetic. Here, take some metformin. Take some more. Like, start here. We'll give you some insulin. The $400 a vial. They actually want this. And same thing with the mental health community and pharmaceuticals. Oh, you depressed? Take a pill. Oh, you anxious? Take a pill. You feel suicidal? Take a pill. In other words, we're being over manipulated by a system that is really focused on their bottom line. It's not focusing on the needs that really help people. And so, unfortunately, insurance companies are also involved too, because if you want to get psychodynamic therapy, oh, I'm sorry, your insurance doesn't cover that. So then you have to buy another insurance policy that covers it, but then they may not cover other things that you need.
It's not the government's job to look after you. They would argue that, and they would also say,
Carlos, exactly. We need another stimulus check, but the thing is, you're not going to get one as far as the Democrats are concerned.
Companies produce jobs, Michelle. Companies produce jobs. They don't produce enough, but they do produce jobs.
Sure, companies produce jobs, but they only hire some people that they consider good candidates. So it's not like, oh, well, you want a job, Michelle? Okay, you can put labels on pill bottles, or something like you can do, or maybe you can help, design a new efficient way of dispensing the medications or something like that. They're hiring people that originally were, in academia and PhDs, people that were highly skilled. Just because the economy took a nosedive, they're going to hire those guys first. More often than not, they're going to hire the migrants that come in that look for jobs because they're willing to work for slave wages. That's another issue that's hurting, America, is we're giving all the jobs to the migrants. As they say, oh, Americans are too lazy, they don't want to work. No, that's not true. That's very generalized. There are Americans that were willing to put their nose to the grindstone to achieve the success. But then, if the company's not hiring American people, what are you going to do? If they want to hire all the illegals that are coming in from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico.
Yeah, but Michelle, they're not getting the jobs that are earning 70, 80 grand a year. They're getting a job picking potatoes in fields, Michelle. How many, quantum physicists are coming in from Guatemala?
I don't know. Depends how desperate they are right now. Because after all, there's definitely not.
You're making it sound as if the immigrants.
I mean, that's related to, again, what we have been teaching our kids in university. It is the same thing. Is that, oh, you can train for this high quality job.
How many
but yet, when you get out of university, they immediately find out that their degree is as good as toilet paper, because that's not what the American people need. For example, companies, when Trump was around, they said, we need people in manufacturing. We need people to run the lathes and the CNC machines. We can't get those people,
Michelle,
because they weren't. They want cushy desk jobs.
Michelle, how many white American people, right?
What do you mean seasons blew you again?
Michelle, how many American people are working in fields and doing the jobs that the Mexicans are doing, Michelle? Zero.
Yeah.
Zero.
I haven't seen too many American people doing the same jobs as migrant workers.
No, they don't, because migrant workers do the job.
But then part of the system is that some Americans, I'll say some, because I'm gonna leave some wiggle room here. Okay, there are some Americans that are so entitled that they think, oh, that's below me. Oh, what do you want? I want a corner office with a window. You want a corner office with a window. What did you do to achieve that? Oh, I went to college. I went to university. That's nice. But what if the company you're working for needs you in the mailroom? You know, they want the brass ring. They want to go for the top right out of college. In reality, that's not how it works. But yet you got these kids thinking this. Oh, I want I want the corner office with the window. That's a
Yeah, I know
position that you have to work up
that's
to. Then that's
yeah,
something that
well,
this country has lost track of.
yeah, well, that's true, Michelle. But there's a lot of
So,
skilled
did you
jobs out there.
record it, Bobby Starr?
Michelle, did you know that Carol Baskin's ex-husband is showing up?
Um, did you know that Carol Baskin's ex-husband is showing up? I don't know who that is.
You remember the Tiger King? Remember the Lion King or the Tiger King? The
Oh
guy
yeah.
that's doing time. Yeah, him. Well,
Oh, Lion
he had
King.
a rival. Yeah, and her name was Carol Baskin. Well, her husband disappeared like 20 years ago, and they reckon that she may have bumped him off, but now he's actually turned up.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it went under the radar because it was actually saying, how did this not reach the mainstream media? And it's like, it's just came out that he's just literally, he's actually alive. Everybody thought she
So
bumped him
everyone
off.
thought she killed him, and he was actually alive the whole time.
Wow. He must have been hiding in a fucking swamp somewhere, man, with a bulletproof vest, man. It's like, my ex-wife, man, she's going to kill me, man.
Oh, I'll tell you one thing.
Bulletproof
I'll
vest.
tell you one thing is that we. I don't know. This country is. I think this country is seriously messed up in the head, and in both
Yeah.
unemployment and in the government. I really do. And
Now,
then of
what about this,
course,
Michelle?
let's give
Have
let's
you?
give some credits to some of the Democrats because I think we keep talking bad about them all the time. For example, President Johnson created the SSDI program, and then Richard Nixon in 1972 created SSI entitlement programs. Also, I think it was
Yeah,
I think it was also President Johnson that started with Medicare.
Yeah, I just found that out. I looked it up. He's been found well in Costa Rica.
And then it's like I know that President Johnson really was trying to do the war on poverty, and I think that it was a great idea to start with. But the sad truth is that the system hasn't really worked consistently well because of um, so many people kept basically punting that football around the court, and they're like nobody really wants to realize that the system is woefully behind the times. In the 1980s, there was some improvement, but there was not enough. And then to cuff on with the reality. Remember what Joe Biden said? He said nobody on disability should have to live below the poverty line. But that's exactly what is happening and still is happening. So in that case, Joe Biden has failed his statement. Is Bernie Sanders has been fighting tooth and nail to try to get more equality for the disabled, and he has failed because no one's listening to Bernie Sanders. Nobody. As much as I really wish they would listen to him, he's right. And like I said, as a moderate, I'm looking at this and saying, yes, there is needs. They need to make some corrections, but they're not listening to him. They're not. Carlos asks about a stimulus check, for example. Right now, Americans, especially those in fixed incomes, need another stimulus check. I mean, not everybody that makes less than $75,000 needs a stimulus check, but those on fixed income entitlement programs definitely do because they are the ones that are really getting squeezed, and they're not getting any kind of help. They got the emergency pandemic program that helped them out. They were enjoying, food stability and But originally, the pandemic program was supposed to be during the time of the pandemic. And so this was going on for 2 years. It was renewed 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, every 3 months. But, now, right now, the inflation, food inflation is ridiculous. And yet now they were saying is now it's time to rein in the program.
That's
And
a good
I
point,
think that
Michelle.
this is just an example of when, again, you get into somewhere somebody has missed the boat here. Because if you got all these people and they're struggling to buy groceries because the grocery store, some of the inflationary trends is huge. Eggs and chicken, certain meats, they're extremely expensive. And now the World Economic Forum made a statement along the lines of, "We like when people are poor because now we can get them to eat bugs." Uh, first of all, I'm sorry, but I don't think a roach burger sounds too tasty to me. You know, or eating maggots or whatever. But I'm sure, unfortunately, because the way food is manufactured, I'm sure those things get in there anyway in the manufacturing process of grocery of making food, the meat packing industry that you get, you know, mealworms and stuff in your food because they are maggots because they just happen to get into machinery. But now we're talking about deliberately adding these things into the food. I I seriously think that somebody needs to re-examine everything. Um, yeah, HD, yes, OnlyFans. Um, Let me just say, I haven't been on ChatterBait lately. Um, I was gonna get on ChatterBait sometime, but like I said, for me to be on ChatterBait, I really have to feel that I'm relaxed. I'm CCC, calm, cool, collected. And if I'm not feeling CCC, being on Chatterbait is like feels like a forced performance, and I don't want that. I really need to be able to be
No.
relaxed, and
Um,
and that's
yeah, you want to be relaxed.
what's that?
I think, yeah, maybe they were looking for some content for the early morning to watch, you know, early
Right.
morning frisky hours.
Well,
Hey,
I'm
not
feeling
here,
better now. That's one
buddy.
of the reasons I do the show is because we're getting a chance to discuss some of the concerns that I feel that
Yeah.
I haven't been able to cover. Um,
What about this concern? Did you ever know that people always say, oh, the perfect murder would be with an icicle because then it melts? And what if they did that and you would be charged with making weapons of mass destruction for making icicles?
well, you know what? MythBusters actually proved something that was related to icicle bullets.
Yeah.
They do work. Yes, they do melt. Yes, they do puncture hole in skin. But unfortunately, it also results in the propellant, the gunpowder tends to burn at a lower rate when you actually get that cold need to keep an icicle frozen. So they would have to come up with a new propellant that's going to give it the ability to reach the acceleration needed. And then, of course, the minute you load it into the gun is when it's going to be starting to melt. Because you're going to fire that gun once, and the base of the bullet is going to start melting right away because the heat of the explosion. Okay. Um, but it is a possibility to do it, you know. Um, but it's an interesting idea, but I think feasibility wise, it's not really makes a lot of sense. As far as marketing, going down into your food sporting goods store, going, "Hi, could I have a 25 rounds of ice bullets, please?" And then the guy takes them out of the freezer, which has been packed in dry ice, and say, "Here's your 25 bullets." Now you gotta hurry, rush home, and get home before they all melt on you.
Rush home and use them.
um, So I mean, that's where I think an ice bullet is probably not likely to be a realistic thing right now.
All right, good to know. I'm glad
Yeah.
they did a show on it.
Yes, they did. And unfortunately, I missed Mythbusters. I listened to them a lot. I missed that was one of my favorite shows. Was the Ice Bullet one,
I'll
and
bet.
it was demonstrated that smokeless black powder does not work well at the temperatures that they need to keep the bullet cold. Even if the bullet itself has a plastic, like a separator between the black powder and the bullet shell, it still results in the black powder burn slower, and that's not going to give the kind of acceleration it's going to need to propel it. Of course, realistically, to make black bullets like that, you'd have to load them right there on the spot. In other words, take them right out of the freezer or your dry ice or whatever, throw them in your shell after you put in the charge and the primer, and then fire it. It's going to be pretty clear that you're doing something diabolical when you see someone walking around with a cold or dry ice. uh, okay, um, I get it. God's hero, but I don't know
What
why
did he say?
we are discussing it here. Um, but
Some people are exhibitionists, kind of like you are. They like to have a little audience, or they like people to know.
yeah,
You know, probably something
I'm
like that.
sure God's given hero has probably got a ChatterBait account too.
Yeah, I think they said they have OnlyFans in high definition.
Yeah, well, that's fine because I
It's
never,
fine because it's a free
I
country.
didn't do anything with OnlyFans. I really didn't.
No, you don't have to. Jake
Yeah,
has an OnlyFans.
I started setting up OnlyFans, but I never actually used it
Yeah,
because I
you have
thought
lots of accounts.
originally I thought OnlyFans would be good for live streaming, and it turns out it couldn't. I'm not saying you can't in the future, but no, right now OnlyFans is kind of where YouTube was back in 2008, 2009, when the live streaming was just not a thing. People didn't do live streaming back then on YouTube. That came later, for most people. Uh, but today YouTube is known for mostly for streaming content, as that's what most of us do. But there are still people that still do videos. I do both. But I think that if I was to do a video with today's topic, and I started out as a video, it kind of set up like a video when I started. It's like, I want to discuss what's going on. And then, of course, at first I forgot to turn the microphone on, so you didn't hear me for a few seconds. And then I realized I forgot to turn the volume up on the microphone. Oops. You know, I turned up the volume so you can hear me. But I think, you know, we're just gonna see things. I made money getting. Well, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Um.
Monetizing the love.
Uh. Monetizing the love. Well, what about? Yeah, I wonder if some ways is this like what was it singer there saying? Singer said, "What about old fashioned love?" You know, has love become something that's just so trite that you just don't really let's see, it was BG Thomas that sang it. What about old fashioned love? I love that song. To listen to it sometime. Listen to it, he's talking about how love has become so trite. It's like it's not the same thing anymore. They replace love with lust. And that's kind of disturbing.
Maybe it's just we all get older and we become a little bit more cynical. Maybe
I definitely
when
do
you
sense
meet,
that, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure people still fall in love.
I definitely do think people get more cynical. Absolutely. Because there's, oh, I don't know. It's just like, I know, it's just like the Long Road song that was original Russian version, or um, the Thompson song there. Those were the days. When people, we when we were young, we think we have all the answers. We're happy doing things, and then next thing you know, you look in the window, you see, is this lonely old woman really me? And you realize that your youth has passed you by. Because back in the days when you were in the tavern, those were the days where you start talking about all great things you're going to do, and then obviously they didn't happen. But
Well, you'll never be as young as you are right this second. You know that, Michelle?
yeah, what's that?
You will never be as young as you are right this moment. So enjoy it.
Hey,
Yeah. You're your youngest you'll ever be right this second. So go out, have fun.
well, like I said, I think
People
too
are
is
are
that's the
like having
reason.
sex to the sound of your voice.
That's the reason
It's a
why I
crazy
think I'm
thing.
really excited for my next life, because I already wrote the life chart. I already know what's planned. I know what's going on. But the one thing that's a requirement is I have to finish this term. I have to finish
Yeah,
this
you're
term on
already
Earth.
checked out, I feel like sometimes. Like you're so excited for the next life, you have checked out of this one. You're just like, whatever. I'm not gonna fix my knee. I'm gonna be unhappy for the next 50 years. Crazy.
Well, I'm not told. Remember, like I said yesterday, which is still valid, is that
Hmm.
right now the way it's become is if I get the knee fixed,
Like,
okay,
I don't feel like
there's a
bring this up.
concern is what's going to happen to, okay, like Ed. Ed is, let's be honest, Ed is a
Ed
basket case. Okay,
insisted
he's not.
yesterday that he can take care of himself. Do not worry. If he says he can take care of himself, he can. He is older than you, Michelle. He
Yeah,
is
I
your
know.
elder. You have to respect his decisions and what he says. He can
Right.
take care of himself. He's about to open up a drive-in theater and an online store. Don't worry about him.
It just feels like in some ways like I'm kind of in a position, kind of stuck. Yeah, I want the knee fixed, but because I don't have a very large support network, I feel scared. I feel really scared because I feel like
You gotta take the plunge.
what's going to happen if I feel vulnerable? And it's just a tiny piece of it. What about the fact is, okay, I don't know how long it's going to take. I still gonna need the
Yes, I
ride to get to the
know.
rehab. I'm still gonna need to do the rehabilitation. I still have to do that. I still have to get to the doctors. I still have to do follow ups. How am I gonna get all that done? I don't have a car.
Listen, you're not gonna have 5 doctor's appointments in 1 week. You'll have a doctor's appointment a couple times a month, just like you do now. It's not a big deal.
Right.
And you're blind. You get free taxi rides. I know you're afraid that they'll leave you, but they won't. They won't leave you at the hospital or at the doctor's office because you can just ring them up again.
Yeah.
Don't worry. And then, you know what? If you ever did get stranded somewhere, you call the police. You'll always be okay. You'll always be okay.
I mean, in some ways, I feel the system has abandoned me because it's happened to me before where I have felt like I was abandoned because
Well, that's
of
the thing. You
it.
have
It
your
has
own
literally
advocate.
happened. It has literally happened where
Mm.
I'm somewhere all of a sudden because of an argument. My ride basically tells me they're not going to pick me up. I'm stuck there. I'm going to have to walk home. All this, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm
Those
going to get
people
home.
are irrational. That's crazy. A taxi driver won't do that. But those
Yeah,
are
but cabs don't do it for
strange
free
people that
though.
do that.
So if you got a person that was going to give you a ride home, and then they get mad at you and they said, "Screw you, you're not going. I'm not taking you home." Then you're like, "What are you going to do?" Oh,
No one, maybe
that's
that's
one
happened
reason why I'm trying
before.
so
The
hard to
system
try
won't
to
do
become
that.
more financially independent. Is because I don't want to have to depend unnecessarily on everybody else to do everything. But the sad truth is like we said, people in fixed income do unfortunately get pigeonholed into a program that they can't get out of. Um, that's I know that's kind of depressing. I was hoping not to go there. Just
No, we don't have to go there. I don't want you to get sad. Let's talk about fun things. Or if you're feeling sleepy and want to take a nap before your 10 a.m. show.
I may. I don't know yet
Yeah.
because I'm already dressed and everything. Just 4 hours. I'm not really tired, but I am hungry. I
Most people
didn't
have
eat
breakfast.
yet. I just came in here because I just wanted, like I said to you last night, I said, no, it looks like we have to do it. I have to get up at 4 in the morning to do a show and emotionally get CCC and then maybe drive the truck or whatever and then do the show at 10 because it'll be up around 10, 11, 12. And then I'm like, so that means the whole afternoon is gone. Um, what used to happen was I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and then I would get ready for the 10 o'clock show. And then after the 10 o'clock show was done, I'd have like 4 hours before Ed would get up where I could look at news and things like that. Things I want to look
Why
at.
does him being awake affect you reading news and stuff?
Yeah. Yes.
Why?
Well, I don't only just do that. I also do naughty stuff too. Just looking at things that are not appropriate for discussion on YouTube.
Yeah, I understand. You want some privacy
um,
for that.
yeah.
Well,
I
why
need
don't
some
you go
privacy for
and take
that.
your
And then, of
truck
course,
and
so
do your
that's
naughty bits and whatever?
And so, I need those few hours where I can kind of do my own things. And like I said, I really needed to talk about this morning before the morning show because there was just so
Mm.
many things that I really wanted to cover in the morning show. I didn't get a chance to because Ed was kind of monopolizing the conversation, saying things like, "You told you her hearing sucks because she's like, she said some strange stuff. The how was going to modify a regular hat to have the okay." But actually, in a way, he should have paused and said, "Wait a second. I mean, it's not that bad idea."
Yeah, but he's not an engineer. His mind is business. Your mind is engineer. He doesn't think that way.
Right,
So he doesn't hear that same language. Just like you don't hear his language sometimes.
right. And that sometimes is where problems start with miscommunications. Sometimes he interrupts you, and unfortunately, sometimes I interrupt him. It's like there's a failure to communicate. Like it's not that I don't want to hear you. It's just that sometimes, um, I think I think that's the one thing that makes me feel so isolated. Is because like he and I haven't really gone anywhere because of the soup kitchen, and so for me, I like to be able to be with people that are like minded, like people that could talk about ideas, concepts, maybe make some things, as a team, a maker group, we can build things. That's what I want to do.
Well, it sounds like we need to reinvigorate the campaign to open up the Stoop Kitchen again.
Right.
Because it's, once again, they're still not opening. I'm going to hop off, Michelle. I got to finish getting ready, but I'll be watching your 10 a.m. show.
Well, I wish you luck with your interview.
Thank you.
I almost getting ready to wrap this up
Mm.
too. Maybe I'll go right into the truck game afterwards. I don't know.
Uh,
But the
cool.
thing is that one of the other things too with YouTube, and everybody thinks it's a no big deal with the limited no ads thing. They don't realize, like I said yesterday, is no donations have really been coming in on a regular basis. Virgo God has covered this. You will want to watch that video I sent you. You watch that tarot
Yeah.
reading. She
I
covered
got to put it
this.
on like 2x speed, though. It's really long, and I don't exactly buy into
It's
astrology.
only 18 minutes long. That one's an 18 minute
Oh, yeah.
one.
That one,
In the
yeah, you're right.
last
That one.
in the last 8 minutes, you get the gist of what she's covering about
Cool.
the finances. She says you are at a point right now where your finances are dried up, and the most important thing is do not take on any more expenses. Do not borrow money. Do not, because it would be bad for you. That's basically what you're saying is just do your best you can. I'm just paraphrasing it. Of course, she went into more detail. But either way, she's right. Don't borrow the money from credit cards unless you're really, really, really able to pay it back. And right now, like all the stuff that we're talking about, um, is why I mentioned, I brought that to your attention. Um,
Mhm.
but for now, I wish you luck with your interview. I hope that
Thank
goes
you,
well.
Michelle.
I will try to have a 10 a.m. show like usual. Like I said, it depends on how I feel. I should be able to have one,
Yeah,
you know. And everybody, I
cool.
want you to do me a favor. Please, please, please share these videos with everybody, okay? We really need more people to see them. They got to see, they really need to see the more of me. This is the way I do shows like I do. Just so that you get to know the person behind the microphone. It helps me, it helps you, it helps everybody else. So the point is, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Yeah, bye. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye bye. Okay, so let's get to the next thing. Um, how's the new rug working? Well, we didn't talk about the rug. The rug is working okay. Um, it certainly is not bunching up like the other rug was, which was a major problem. Oh, the rug bunching up. We're not having that problem right now. And everybody, okay, okay, Wiggy, I will go ahead and approve it. all right, all right, all right. So for now, everybody, do me a favor. We'll do our best to have a 10 a.m. show, regular time, and we'll see how that goes. Thank you for coming, watching this very early edition. Appreciate it so much. And yes, I do feel better. Okay, so for now, you all get done what you gotta do, and I'll see you at 10 a.m. or approximately in 4 hours. Okay? Bye bye. Bye bye, guys.